Necromunda Hired Gun was a bit of a mixed bag for me. Objectively, I can say that it's a pretty solid game. Essentially, it's just a jankier Doom Eternal set in the 40k universe, and really, who wouldn't love that? Um, Subjectively, however, is where things tend to feel a little bit dicier. Um, I really feel like I went my 12 rounds with this one. You know, there were times where I was really able to get into a certain rhythm and enjoy it well enough. But there was also plenty of times where I didn't feel like I was having much fun at all and really just wanted to set it down and walk away and move on to anything else. With I guess the overall consensus being that this one just wasn't for me. And I feel like the primary culprit to that comes from the character and story side of things. Um, to start with, you play as a pretty generic, no name, rough and tumble, not really likable bounty hunter. And the primary issue with that is just that, you know, everybody in this environment kind of comes across that way. So there's not much in the way of anything that makes you feel particularly special or helps you stand out from the masses, if you will. You're just a shady character in charge of policing and preventing shady characters from doing bad things to other shady characters. Um, and then there's just the simple fact that this is my introduction to this corner of the universe. Um, I'm brand new to it, don't know much about it, and much like everything else in terms of Warhammer, just trying to learn. So really, my only connection to it comes from either the little tidbits of information that the game itself gives me, or from context clues um, from general circumstances. For example, obviously I understand that the Silver Talon, who is the primary villain of the game, stepping out of line and going into business for themselves to assassinate a target that is supposed to be off limits is bad. Obviously, I know that performing a mission only to have it go completely pear-shaped and result in the loss of two of your comrades sucks. Obviously, I can see that there is tension between your character in this Cal Jericho fella. But I just don't really feel like there's much meat on those bones to really sink my teeth into and get invested in. Like, I have no emotional investment in those characters that we lose. Um, I don't know much about Cal Jericho as a character and what his deal is really. What do I care what the Silver Talon may or may not decide to do? Like you're all criminals, you know. And I think on a larger spectrum, there's a lot of story beats that the game delivers where it feels like instead of being that introductory experience that doesn't necessarily hold your hand, I would say, but really kind of lays the groundwork and helps you understand, like, this is the world we live in, this is how it works, these are the characters at play, this is how they fit into everything, that sort of thing. Um, it kind of treats it all as information that you're already supposed to know going into it, in a way. And as far as I know, this is the one and only game thus far that focuses on Necromunda. So I don't know if there's like a knowledge gap or a knowledge transfer that comes from the tabletop game or whatever this is based on into this, or what the deal is, but I couldn't help but feel a pretty substantial disconnect from everything going on. And to expand on that a little bit further, we could compare this to the other Warhammer games that I've played thus far on the channel, whether it be Chaos Bane, Inquisitor, or Space Marine. Those are all games that feature characters in prominent roles within the Empire. They are roles that make it very easy for you to understand and buy into their beliefs and philosophies. You get a really solid sense, really strong sense of good and evil, and really that, you know, every choice they make or action they take is for the benefit of the Empire as a whole and really everyone in it. And then you look at this, and sure, you could make the argument and say that because Necromunda is such an important hive world to the Empire, that really you losing that sense of control and, you know, over the law and order and everything, and having all of that collapse would be bad for everybody. But that doesn't really excuse the fact that you're largely dealing with a bunch of gangs that only act in their best interest. You yourself, as a bounty hunter, seem to behave that way. I mean, it's really all about the money, right? And you would have a tough time convincing me that your loyalty and things like that wouldn't just go to the highest bidder. I think really what you have here is just a story and character guy telling you that those things don't necessarily matter here. I would say that much more of the game's bread and butter comes from the gameplay and getting invested in the loop of completing missions to earn money to buy upgrades to complete harder missions. And that's pretty much it. And while I wouldn't say that, you know, if we were to rank every single Warhammer game ever made, that it would rank anywhere near the bottom, I would say that based on what I've played thus far, it unfortunately would be at the bottom, I think. I just... This was a toughie, and like I said at the beginning, I just don't think it was from me, and that's okay. But I think that is going to wrap this video up, guys. So as always, thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you in the next one.